Hello, and welcome everyone around the world. This is MrB, and if it's Sunday, it's Free Talk. Free Talk with MrB. In Dubai, it's 10 o'clock, Lagos, 7 o'clock in the evening. Nairobi, 9 o'clock in the evening, Manila, it's way in the morning. Mumbai, 11:30 at night. And we're free talking. We made these adjustments because we have a very special session. We want everyone to pay attention to the art of giving back. And we talk a lot about giving back, and we wanted to highlight something that's very, very interesting and important, talking about giving back to self. Sameena?
Yes, good evening, everyone. And once again, I'm very delighted to have our good friend, Ms. Dedra, with us. We missed her for a very long time over the last few sessions.
Thank you.
We completely understand that Ramzan's been very busy for all of us. Yes, we've touched upon all the nuggets right from the beginning in terms of giving back, the intentions of giving back, how different people in our community give back to each other, be it the spouses, our corporates, we as individuals to the society, all of those aspects. And today it's going to be a very, very interesting topic. We've talked a lot about giving back to others, but today's topic for us and the nugget number 8 in the art of giving back is give back to yourself if you wish to help others. So we are going to be discussing and deliberating on this statement, which is a very strong one. And I would just like to quote a few lines from the book itself, where it says, "It's important because we are free moral agents and have the right to make decisions pertaining to our existence. So we decide wisely while incorporating the thought of being in the colony. We are not an island unto ourselves." So this sums up saying that, we cannot live in isolation. We are living in this world. We are living in this community. So we will continue to discuss and understand what is it and how does one give back to their own selves while helping others. So let's start with our very special friend, Ms. Dedra. What's your thought on this?
Well, I've often spoke about this, on social media platforms and with friends. And, for those of you who don't know, I have an autistic son, and I write books, and I do a number of other creative projects, and basically balance quite a lot of things. I have many plates. And one thing that I've always said is that it's very impossible to keep on giving fully, especially as a mother, which I think a lot of us, we get backed into thinking that we must give everything, to family. And, this is sort of reinforced by society, that women should be very selfless, always completely selfless, and give all to husband and children, especially if you have a disabled child. You must not really, pay attention to your own selfish needs. And you're made to feel often selfish, if you think about that. If you think of going to get your hair done or get your nails done, or, going, to sit on a beach and read a book for a little while. I mean, just really simple pleasures, that other people don't even think twice about doing. So, I often remind people that when you're on an airplane, and they're going over the safety features of the plane, one of the things they tell you is that in the event of a crisis, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on others. And it really rings true in life as well, that if you don't take care of yourself, if you do not give enough to yourself to be a whole person, really whole person, strong, like at full strength, you can't give back anything to your family because you'll be broken and empty, and who needs that? You're really no good to anybody that way, are you? So I often say that you are not being selfish at all, by doing nice things for yourself. I mean, you have to kind of, after your parents have raised you, you have to continue to raise yourself. You have to take on that role with yourself. I mean, take that inner child that you have inside and let them sometimes enjoy themselves. Do that. I mean, everybody has their own way of doing that. Mine is through writing stories. I love to, come up with things, from my imagination, and I love to write short stories. I love to write film scripts, and, I love to work with my creative writing students, and help them, create their own stories. And that's what lights up my brain.
Right.
I mean, it really does. It lights up my brain. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes I need to center myself, by walking on a beach, hearing the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. I mean, there's a real name for it. Even it's nature therapy, putting your feet on grass, walking outside, putting your feet on sand, earth therapy. I mean, and really absorbing that just for a little while. Doesn't have to be long. And then you go back to your family and you can really give them 100% then, because you've taken the time to fill yourself up,
Absolutely. And that is also bringing us to the question, which is, what is the daily self-care routine? So if I may ask, what is your weekly, or if not daily, what is your weekly self-care routine?
Well, I mean, of course, getting a decent night's sleep, that's where it all starts. I mean, you really do have to make sleep a priority. That if you don't get a good night's sleep, your foundation is completely thrown off for the entire day. If you don't at least get enough sleep. And again, that varies for everyone. I mean, some people are perfectly fine on 6 hours of sleep. Some people need 7. I mean, I dare say that no one really needs more than 8, even if they claim that they do. They really don't. So, I mean, sleep is where it all starts. And then to wake up and have, really good nutritious food. I mean, you really have to take care about what you put in your body too. I mean, one thing that you have to remind yourself of is that your body is not a garbage can. I mean, you really have to keep that thought in your mind. I mean, my body is a temple. I mean, it's a gift from God, and I have to put quality things into it. I have to nourish it with things that, he's putting right in front of us. And the nice thing about God is that he's dummy proofed the food for us. Even, I mean, I've said that before in our podcast, that, I mean, it's all right there. Kidney beans look like kidneys for a reason. Walnuts look like little brains for a reason. I mean, we even know what to eat. Really, if you look around and think about that, what part of the body is nourished by what kind of food. So good healthy breakfast. And, at least once a month, I go and have a nice mother-daughter time with my little girl. She's not little anymore. She's 21 now, but we still have some mother-daughter time, and we go for a mani-pedi, together. To take care of that. That may be seen as an indulgence to some, but it's not only pampering, it's time alone with her. So it's sort of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I think it's very important for, mothers and daughters to spend quality time together, just as fathers and sons, I think, should do special things just with each other, to build those very special relationships.
Yes.
So I hope that begins, so good sleep, good diet, quality time, building quality relationships, and then to make time for my writing also, because that is also a very important part of who I am. I really need to write it, and even during Ramadan now, I mean, thanks to God, I mean, this is a very special month and I'm grateful for it. But I do look forward to when my brain power is completely back on after the fasting is over. So I can I can dive right back into the writing process. Now, I'm not saying that's the same experience for everybody, but I go a little bit brain, the lights in up there don't fire 100% during the daytime, not until after I've had coffee. That's why it's important that I met with you guys at 10 p.m. I've had Starbucks, I've had food. This is full Dedra. I'm at full speed right now. But you don't want to see me before iftar. I mean, this is slurred speech. The lights are not on up there. So I'm really looking forward to hitting the beach and, maybe reading some books and getting my storytelling power back on full speed.
Inshallah, inshallah. Let's hear from Mr. B. What is your daily routine or a weekly routine of self-care? Mr. B.
And I'm not even sure if I have that to be exact. but I wanted to focus on the reason why we went over a lot of sequential giving back topics to get to this one at this point, because we wanted to show that aspects of giving back, right? Yeah. And so my routine is, and I think it's a lifelong routine, is I have to give something back because it brings me such self-satisfaction. And so if I'm giving something back, I think my routine goes into thinking, but I also wonder, what am I going to do to fulfill myself, to build myself up, to replenish myself, since I'm always trying to give back. And the truth is, we cannot give back very well. Like Dedra saying, I cannot think very well when I'm hungry. I can't think very well when I'm fasting. So she had to give back to herself, right? She had to nourish herself before she can give back. So in my case, I wrote in the book, when we take care of ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, we are giving back to ourselves. And we have a reason for it, because as we make sure we are equipping ourselves to help others, we need to nourish ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves, like we're saying. Mm-hmm. So we have to be really equipped. And when we experience the joy of being strong, or then we can share the joy or give back some of the joy, because there's so much joy in giving, right? So we need to share the feeling of always being able to help other people and to give them the experience of that joy. If we're empty, we cannot give back. If we're empty, we cannot share. If we're empty, we cannot. And I point, I'm taking the stage right now, I point to three types of jobs. There is a firefighter, there is a lifeguard, and I can't remember if it's maybe even a nurse. I can't remember what my third one was. But when I look at the firefighter, he's going to rescue others. If a firefighter goes in without oxygen, without the clothing, without the helmet, and all these things, he's becoming a victim.
Exactly.
If the lifeguard does not know how to swim and he jumps in the water to rescue someone who is drowning, he's going to drown, and that person's going to drown. So he needs to be
maybe
ready.
He didn't get a good night's sleep the night before, right?
Even,
yeah, exactly.
So he needs to be ready. And so it's not very different when we want to live in a world where we're giving back. We need to give back to ourselves and not feel selfish at all, because we're preparing ourselves to give, like Dedra was saying, to our children. Right? Sameena, we prepare ourselves as a wife to be full of joy, to give back to our husbands to wife. If we are empty, we have nothing to give.
Nothing to give.
Exactly.
And if we have nothing to give, we're going to be frustrated. Plus, we will cause our partners frustration. I'm telling you. So it's a subject that, I mean, and I can see why we wanted an expert to come on next week to talk to us about this. But if we sit here and we looking at our children and we thinking we have nothing to give to the children, and in your case, Dedra, you have an autistic child, if you don't plan and prepare and fill yourself up to give some of that joy to that child, plus balance it out with the other children, you're going to be, why is everything so frustrated in this house? It could be we didn't fill ourselves up. We didn't give ourselves that manicure, that pedicure.
Exactly. And you know
so,
what? There's cultural things too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off
go
there. I
ahead,
just
please.
wanted you to be sure and mention that there's cultural aspects of this to look at as well. I mean, Mr. B, you and I are both raised American, and you know, Americans have an extra dose of guilt when it comes to doing anything of leisure. Did you know that, Sameena? I mean, we've had it beaten into our brains from the time that we could walk or think, you know, that you need to work, 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 work,
Yep.
you know, all the time, always be working, you know. I mean,
That's
leisure
me.
time, they only get what, 1 week off every year for vacation? 1 week. If you can imagine that. Here in
Yes.
UAE, that's almost unimaginable to have only 1 week of
So,
vacation
so
a year.
you can see why I felt embarrassed when you asked me what's my routine. The things that makes me most comfortable by
Yes, I
cultural
get it.
habit is working.
Yeah, I get
Working.
it.
Yeah, that's not
That
good.
might be the Americanness, actually.
Yeah, so I have to look for other things to build me up. Now, this podcast does fill me up a bit, but it's, of course, it's not enough because I'm still giving back, giving back. And in the book, The Art of Giving Back, I went back in my life and see, when did I start giving back and why? And then I had to look also, when did I start giving back to myself? When did I start building myself up? And it was in my older years, past 45, when I started even recognizing that I need to start building up myself. Because if I run out of giving, I would run into frustration. I would
Exactly.
run into anxiety, and I would feed my frustration and anxiety to others instead of giving what they really need. And so again, the point is from me is clear that I need to build myself up, give myself joy. And sometimes when you look at my reel, you realize I get on that motorcycle and go for a ride, and that brings me joy.
Yes, that is so nice. We really looked at all those pictures and we were like, yes, this is what one needs to do. You need to really get yourself what you love. That
Exactly.
was
And it's
so,
different for everybody. Like I said, I mean, we all have our preferences and things that give us that feeling of release, you know, of your emotions, things that you've been holding, you know, up, you know, bottling up, you know, whatever you need to do. Once in a while, it's nice to just sort of let that go, you know, and just take it easy and not feel guilty for it. But I don't know how Indian culture is, or I mean, Arab culture is a little bit more relaxed than American culture, I think, in terms of letting yourself have leisure time and not feeling bad about it. What do you think,
yes.
Sameena?
Yes, talking about that, yes, a lot of people are working. I think majority of the population is working in India, and times have changed from the traditional and conventional forms and families, and the thought processes of conventional families. From that, they have moved on to a day to day where every household has their children at the age of about, I would say, 20, 21, 22, just going off for work. So everyone's working, and what happens there is, yes, they take up their responsibilities, and in some homes the child is taking up the responsibilities so much, because India is not, with due respects, the country is excellent, and everything's amazing. We have great resources. The thing is that we still have a long way to go in terms of the financial stability of the families, or the emotional stability of the family. Maybe the volumes is what makes it more difficult, because if you look at the population, even in the US, there could be different aspects. The volumes and the kind of financial resources the families have here, it's not as great as in the US, or even in the
Right.
UAE. So what one does is, maybe they're just working and working and working, and very often forgetting about themselves. I can
Exactly.
that straight away.
And
And
forgetting that sometimes it doesn't take much money to have fun, you know. I mean,
yes,
sometimes
it
it's
doesn't.
free.
It does.
Even,
Yes, it's
you know.
about fulfilling your responsibilities. And sometimes, at some point, even I have had that guilt in me that, I haven't actually looked at myself. And very honestly, my sister keeps telling me that, you should think about yourself. You should think about
Sure.
yourself. then you
You
should
should.
do what you need to do, and you need to make time for yourself. What I do as my weekly routine or a daily routine is that, yes, of course, I do catch up on the exact hours of sleep I need. Maybe a little more than 6.5 is what I need. Maximum 7 is what I can get every day. And there's so much which happens throughout the day, and our minds are filled with so many emotions, mixed emotions. We need to rest our mind. So I think that's the most important thing for one to do, for self-care. We need to rest our mind, and how we do it, it's up to us. The way I do it is with prayers. And I talk to God. I talk to
Yes,
Allah. Yeah,
yes.
and I just pray. And yes, I do not have too many friends around in UAE, except for the ones at work, and a few of the other friends, and some of them who travel in and out of the country. So we meet up whenever we can.
Sure.
Apart from, it's just that, as soon as I'm getting back home, I just give time for myself, and I do talk to my family back here. Maybe that's an hour or so, and then my sisters were in different parts of the world, and then that gives me happiness. It's just that I feel connected with my people, though I'm so far away, and with so much of distance between us, and I just feel connected. I just feel nice that, okay, today I have connected with them. I know, and it's very, very important for me as an individual to have that connectivity with them, because
Sure.
people might
Yeah.
feel that, she's insane. Every day she has to talk to them. It's like she's too much, and maybe sometimes they don't even have the time. Maybe they are outside or something. I'd start feeling, oh, nobody cares. They're not even picking my phone.
Well,
No.
can I give you a suggestion too, as well? Here's another suggestion I can give to everybody. I mean, especially since I teach creative writing. Do something creative every
Yes,
day, even if
yes,
it's just to imagine something creative.
yes,
I mean, imagination is free. And it doesn't take very much time. I mean, literally, when we were 6 years old, I mean, we didn't need anything to be entertained, did we? We needed no money. We needed nothing really. We could imagine anything we wanted. We could imagine our bicycle was a galloping horse, riding through a countryside. And we could imagine the monkey bars at the playground was like a tunnel, through a mountain, and there was lava, underneath. And we had to be sure not to touch the bottom, otherwise it would burn to death. I mean, just having an active imagination can be such a release from stress. You cannot imagine that, just even if it's something silly,
yes,
every single day, give yourself permission to be a little silly, just a
yes.
little bit, and have a
So,
giggle
so
about something.
since you're on, I'm going to ask you that, Dedra. Is that your fallback? And if it was more
Yes,
specific, what? And the reason why I say
absolutely.
the reason why I said fallback, because sometimes we get wound up into the cycle of what we do every day, and then like we just realized we need to get back on course. We need
Mhm.
something to go do that might fill us up real quick, like a shot of caffeine in our
Just something.
emotions. And
Yes, exactly.
and so your imagination, I mean, let's say a working adult, we're not 6 years old anymore. What do you think is a good fallback?
Oh, I mean, any given situation you're in, I mean, for example, you see a commercial come on television, imagine a different voiceover, rather than what's actually on. Anything at all, to make it funny, I mean, what if they were saying something else? I mean, some of the creative exercises I give my students are like, for example, rewrite Little Red Riding Hood from the perspective of the big bad wolf. What sort of things might he have said, about that situation? Like, what is this stupid little girl doing prancing through the forest, wearing that dumb hood? I think I'm going to go attack her grandmother now. I mean, allow yourself, to see, have a little giggle, do something funny, imagine
Yeah,
something funny every day. Even your pets, imagine if they could talk, what would they say? What would they be saying about you right now?
right.
I mean, just let
Yeah.
it go. I mean, sometimes we're so reserved in our thoughts that we don't give ourselves permission to just be free with that, even if
And-
it's just for a few minutes.
And Sameena, when some people at work say, go outside, get some fresh air, and count backwards from 10 to 0, 10, 9, 8, trying to get your refill yourself to go back into the office to work some more. Because again, we give back a lot, and we're going to talk about those later on, but we give back a lot to our employers, for example. And then we feel empty middle of the day or right away in the morning or at the end of the day. What do we have as a fallback to replenish ourselves really quickly? What do you think we could do?
I think being self-motivated is the only way in today's world. I'm being just very blunt and upfront. So, okay, so yes, there's a lot which happens at work in a day. And, one of my recent experiences where I launched the podcast for our hospital gave me so much satisfaction. Yes, I'm sure people might not relate to it at the very first episode. It'll take some time for people to understand what it is and how it's going to help the organization. So it gave me a lot of happiness as an individual to have accomplished it, because it took me a lot of planning, it took me a lot of preparation, and it took me a lot of practice. And I'm thankful to you for giving me this platform for this practice. And then I've started doing my podcast there, and that gives me the happiness. But that being a communications head for the organization, I'm able to. It gives me a lot of satisfaction, and I think even before I set off for my leave, I have recorded 4 episodes so that 4 weeks do not go empty. Each week we're going to be posting one. So I'm just saying all this because I want to really, really, focus on this point of being self-motivated to do anything you want to do, because nothing should stop you, and that is in one way giving you a lot of happiness.
And granted, we do
Can I
not
give you
know.
a little suggestion there? May I say just one more thing? I'll add to what you said. And if you want to do that, a little practice called self-affirmation will help you a lot.
Nice.
I mean, look at you're going outside, giving yourself a break from your employers. Look at yourself in the reflection of the building, even if you have to, and tell yourself wonderful things to yourself. Say, you are beautiful. You're amazing. You're smart. You're so capable, I mean, you cannot imagine what a boost that can be sometimes to you to just tell yourself that.
And in self-development, I was going to add right before we close and talk about what's coming next week, is there's food items that trigger your self-development emotions. And so I'm like a Haagen-Dazs ice cream blow me away, make me feel wonderful. So I'll go have that. Someone could have certain fruits, and I could talk about foods because it's after your iftar hour. So
yes, you can.
I wouldn't hurt anyone. But the point is, it's like, in order to build yourself up before you go and take on the world again, you may have to get that cup of Yoplait yogurt, that your favorite one.
Why not?
And so things like that. And that's what I was talking about. What is your fallback item? And so we do look forward, and maximizing use of time, we do look forward to continuing this conversation next week. We're going to have I think if it's correctly said, a clinical psychologist on.
Exactly. My husband is Dr. Hussein Kayani, and he is head psychologist at Dubai Community Health Center, and he has more than 3 decades of clinical experience. And I can tell you he'll have a lot to say on this topic.
And
and
so we look forward to that. We look forward to Sameena leading us through. It's going to be the same hour because of logistics this week and next week. And we really look forward to continuing this subject. We look forward to all of you listeners and your feedback. And so next week's feedback session, we will bring on the subject matter expert and to remind us that we do need to nourish ourselves, give back to ourselves, build ourselves up before even that we give to others, because we have to have something to give. And so we look forward to having that session next week. I am so grateful for you guys for being on. We look forward to Professor Mehreen being on with us again. and oh gosh, we can talk about these things for hours. And we'll cut the time short today and look forward to more of the conversation next Sunday as we continue on Free Talk with MrB.
Brilliant.
All right. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.